60 years ago, Earth was attacked. We won the war, but they destroyed half the planet. Everyone's been evacuated. Nothing human remains. Our job is security and drone maintenance. We're the mop-up crew.
Hey everyone, a lot of you have been asking for my thoughts on Oblivion, which came out this last weekend. For some of you, it came out a week before. I don't know why the rest of the world seems to have gotten this movie before we did. Usually it's the other way around, but, well, in any case, we finally got it. And I had high hopes for this one because the trailers looked really good. Seems I may have set my hopes a little too high. Not that I thought the movie was terrible or anything. It was okay, but that's it. I just thought it was okay. The basic setup for this movie, if you are not aware, Tom Cruise plays a man called Jack Harper, and he and his partner Victoria, played by Andrea Riseborough, are the last two human beings left on the planet Earth. About 60 years prior, it was all but destroyed in a very nasty war with some alien menace known as the Scavs. And the first thing they did when they attacked was they took out the moon. And that caused all sorts of geological problems, contrary to what Dragon Ball Z may have you believe. Earthquakes, tsunamis, all sorts of mess. Aside from a few pockets here and there that remain mostly untouched, the world is pretty much a desolate wasteland with little bits of major landmarks here and there. Like there's a point where he visits the observation deck of the Empire State Building, which is now at ground level. He also visits a football stadium, and given that it must be somewhere near the Empire State Building, I'm guessing it's MetLife Stadium, or what's left of it. And apart from that, there's not much left. And basically, the humans won the war in the end, but since the planet was no longer capable of sustaining life, they all had to evacuate, and I believe they left to Titan, which is one of Saturn's moons. And Jack and Victoria are staying behind kind of as a cleanup crew. They are overseeing the gathering of Earth's water by these huge freaking water gathering machines that are just sucking it out of the ocean so it can eventually be transported to Titan. And they're also maintaining a bunch of security drones that are there to guard the huge machines and also to take out any of the last remaining scabs that are still hiding out on the planet. And while they're going through their daily routine, which basically involves Jack going out and performing drone maintenance while Victoria stays behind and talks with Sally of Mission Control, he keeps having these weird dreams, which seem almost like memories of a previous life that he couldn't possibly have lived. And then one day, a ship comes out of nowhere and crash lands on the planet, and when he goes to investigate, he finds a stasis pod which contains a woman that he kept seeing in his dream. Dun dun dun. And it all goes downhill from there, of course. This movie was directed by Joseph Kosinski and also co-written by him. And Kosinski, as I'm sure many of you know, started out his Hollywood directing career with Tron Legacy, which is a hell of a start. And much like Tron Legacy, visually this movie is fucking gorgeous. Did a fantastic job of painting this, remnants of Earth after this nasty war with the aliens and all the massive geological destruction that went on. It just looks amazing. Kind of surprised this wasn't shot in 3D, since that seems to be the trend nowadays, but no, they just filmed this in good old-fashioned 2D. Nothing wrong with that, it looks fine. Just kind of surprised that one movie that could have probably benefited from 3D didn't take advantage of it, but no, especially since I think Tron Legacy was shot in 3D. Yeah, it was. Oh well. It doesn't suffer for it, so... Now, of course, Tron Legacy, as some of you may remember, was very big on visuals, but the story definitely had its issues. Even people who enjoyed the movie can admit that it did have its problems. I personally didn't hate that movie either, But yeah, definitely had its issues. And unfortunately, Oblivion is more of the same. And this does not share the same writers that Tron Legacy had. It's, in fact, Kosinski didn't write Tron Legacy at all, as far as I'm aware. But he did share a screenplay credit on this movie, so he really has no one to blame but himself. And I believe this was actually based on an unpublished comic book that he co-created. And if this story is any indication, I think I know why it wasn't published. It's not all that great. But yes, the one thing that really saves this movie, apart from the visuals, is the acting. Tom Cruise is really at his best here. I mean, he is, you know, as many problems as the story had with, you know, things that didn't make sense, and the fact that it's extremely derivative. The only way you will find anything new here is if you have never seen any other science fiction movie that has ever been made in the history of ever, because it steals from all of them. Yes, all of them. Every single one. All of them. You name it, it's in there. I'm not kidding. And also because the plot twists were predictable as all hell. Except one. There was one I did not see coming. Mainly because it made no sense. But anyway, yeah, he is the main reason why I kept focusing on this movie and I was still engaged, even though I knew the writing was not very good. Because he really sells this. He does an amazing performance as Jack. Andrea Riseborough, who plays his partner Victoria, partner both as co-workers and as lovers, although she seems to be more in it than he is. I think he's only into it because they are the last two human beings left alive on Earth, and, you know, if you want to have sex with someone, there aren't many options, so take what you can get, I guess. But yeah, she also does a very good job. Morgan Freeman, who doesn't show up for nearly as much of this movie as I expected. He's only in it for maybe 15, 20 minutes worth. He's really a minor character, even though in the trailer I think he got second billing. So that was kind of disappointing, but I mean, when he's on screen, he's his usual awesome self. I don't think that man could turn in a bad performance if he wanted to. It's just not in the cards. And of course, the mysterious woman from Tom Cruise's dreams. What was her name? Olga Kurylenko. I think I'm saying that right. And she wasn't earth-shattering or anything, but she was okay. But yeah, the little bits and pieces of the story just did not make sense. Just, I can't go into too many of them without talking about spoilers. That's the trouble. But just to give you an example. While Tom Cruise is going on his daily run, you know, repairing security drones and, you know, exploring for scavs and whatnot, he eventually comes across, you know, some old libraries and has put together a pretty sizable collection of books. And while he's on one of his runs, he picks up one book in particular and reads a quick passage out of it. And later on, when Morgan Freeman meets Tom Cruise, he recites the very same passage that he was reading, word for word. So somehow, he was able to apparently spy on Jack with such immense detail that he knew not only what book he was reading, not only what page he was on, but the exact passage on that exact page that he was reading quietly to himself. Pushing it just a bit. And that's just one example, and really the only one I can get into without spoilers, I'm afraid. But yeah, just really, I mean, is it technically possible if he has, you know, some binoculars and is looking at just the right angle from up in the rafters? Maybe, but wow. Didn't think that one through. So yeah, I mean, if you can get past some of the some of the bits that don't make a whole lot of sense and some of the fuzzy science, which there is quite a bit of in this movie, unfortunately, especially towards the end. If you can get past that, there's still plenty to like here. I mean, like I said, you know, the performances from all the major players do keep it very engaging, even if the story doesn't. And visually, it is very hard to look away. So if that's enough to keep you engaged, you will probably enjoy this movie. There is still a lot to like here. If stuff like that tends to take you out of the movie, then you will probably be disappointed. And I know I'm not the only one who was disappointed, because some guy in my theater actually fell asleep towards the end and started snoring rather loudly. And for some reason, I wasn't all that annoyed by it. I just found it hilarious. Just because I was thinking, like, okay, I'm not liking it that much either, but it's not that bad, man. And he fell asleep, like, right after there was a huge freaking explosion, too. I don't know how anyone can sleep through that, but oh well, it is what it is. So, yeah, that's about all I have to say about Oblivion. Yeah, it was okay, but I don't anticipate ever going out of my way to see this movie again. It's one and done for me. So that's about it, and I guess now I just have to count down the days until Iron Man 3. God, I hope that one does not disappoint me. They better not. Like, they've had two pretty good movies so far. The first one was really good. Second one was okay. So, but you know, if the trailers look awesome, I am really looking forward to that one. So here's hoping they don't screw it up. Take care.
What aren't you telling me?
Who are you?
Help us end this.
You don't have to die. They don't have to die. It's time to come home.
I'm not gonna do that. Earth is my home.